Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Hi, everyone. Today I am with educator, mother, and a leader in social action, Carol Todd. Carol has dedicated most of the last decade to helping children and youth to fight cyberbullying. Carol, it's so good to see you. I just saw you, but we were talking a minute ago about how it's been quite a while. But you are back at it. You haven't stopped, have you, when it comes to cyberbullying?
I don't think I have. And we're approaching the 8th year date of Amanda's death. And I reflect back to October 10th of 2012 and where her legacy has gone and where the awareness has gone. And although a lot of people say that not much has been done in the world, there has been a lot done in the world in the areas of bullying, cyberbullying, and even mental health for youth, right? So
Mhm.
I think we have to look at the big picture, not always the little bits and pieces. I never expected that Amanda's story would keep evolving. I mean, we're coming up to 8 years,
I
and
can't believe it.
I get messages and emails from people all over the world. There's been multiple documentaries made. There's been things to reflect her life in different forms. Like we're talking symphony, dance, presentations. It's just amazing to me um, how how it's happened. Never expected. Um, and she's just a small town girl from Port Coquitlam,
Mm.
right?
I can't imagine that. I mean, I'm so familiar with you and Amanda and the story and your advocacy. So if someone is listening that is somewhere else in the world that isn't familiar, can you just, I mean, you have the Amanda Todd Legacy Society now, so
Yes.
maybe we can talk about. I mean, there's so much to talk to you about the documentary that's coming out, the Legacy Society. But for somebody who doesn't know who you are, how do you explain your story?
I would direct them to our website, amandatoddlegacy.org, and it has the story. It has links to documentaries. It has resources on it, um, just a whole myriad of things. And then I would just say, if you don't know the story, um, go to the website and scroll down and watch her YouTube video,
Mm.
the one that she created 5 weeks before her death, because that video has about 50 million views globally, right? And then usually people will go, I remember seeing that video on the news. I remember that story. So, and the other thing you can do is just go to Google, type in
Mm.
Amanda Todd, and you will see all the listings of news articles, resources, stories, whatever has been written about her. I was just reflecting this morning and thinking about you and I having a conversation. And in 2012, she died October 10th, 2012. And in December, the Google Analytics came out, and she was the third most searched person in 2012. And she died in the middle of October, right? So that was in itself amazing. It breaks my heart. It
Mhm.
breaks my
Mhm.
heart what she went through. Um, but it gives me peace that now her story is helping others in different ways.
Very much so. Let's talk about the documentary. So, documentary called Dark Cloud. It's being released on October 10th. Why did you want to do this documentary?
Well, I've done many documentaries in different forms, and most of the documentaries reflected on Amanda and her story. And this one, and whenever I get asked for a documentary, my mind goes into overload, and I ask the 5 questions, like, why is it being done? Who's going to be in it? What's it really going to be about? And I think the main question is, how is this? How is making another documentary going to support and help the cause, the big issues around the world? And this documentary, although it reflects Amanda's life, it also reflects the legacy that Amanda left behind and all the work that's being done locally, internationally, nationally, the stories, the people that have been affected by the issue. And I thought it was really important as another medium to support awareness, to tell the real life stories, because I think real life stories make an impact on people. It's not just watching Netflix and watching a docudrama, like a drama that isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
These stories, Amanda's stories, are real, and even if it puts a niggling in someone's head to go do more research, to have a conversation, especially for parents, to have a conversation with their children, to learn more about cyberbullying, about social media, online safety, it's worth me putting myself out there. And I totally can say it's not the easiest thing in the world to put yourself out there and to revisit. But it keeps, I'm gonna cry, keeps my little girl alive in my heart.
Yeah. I see that. I see that every time you are interviewed, every time you speak, I see that. And I often wonder, you are always, every time I see you, you are just this calm, steady, smart activist. You are not you are just this steady calm. And I often wonder, I know that that's maybe not, I know that that's what we see, but in doing a documentary, this documentary is very powerful. Um, you do revisit everything. You revisit everything every time you talk to somebody, or every time you see somebody being cyberbullied, or every time although I look back and I go, wow, it's been 8 years. It seems like it was longer in some ways, and it seems like it was just yesterday in other ways. And we all feel very connected to you, Carol, like very much so, especially, I mean, I can only speak in British Columbia because that's where, you and I are both from, but we know you, and we care about you, and we support you. And so in doing this documentary, what is the like, who should watch this documentary? Is it okay for kids to watch this?
I believe it's okay for kids to watch this, but as an educator, I will always say to parents and caregivers and adults, watch it first, and then you determine if your child is okay to watch it, right? And then don't sit with your child and watch it and have those conversations, like the teachable moment, right? Look at that, what happened, look what happened, how do you feel, what would you do if? And you've got to have those conversations with your children. I read a research article a few years back, and one of the comments from young people were that they weren't given enough practice in how to deal with situations. And so when you think about us as adults, we sort of like to know what's going on so that we can, in our minds, determine what we're going to say as an outcome. Like in this podcast, I got a paragraph on questions so that at least my mind can process what I'm going to say and what I might do or what I'm not going to do, right? Same with kids. They need to learn. So always use this example, and it's like you don't throw a kid into at the deep end of a swimming pool without giving them a life jacket and teaching them how to swim, right? You give them the practice sessions in order to make them successful. The same thing with cyberbullying and online safety. We have to learn it, some of it ourselves, and then be able to teach our children what, give them scenarios on what they could do, what they shouldn't do, what might happen. And it's not only parents. I believe that as a community, we all have that responsibility. So parents, caregivers, school educators, community comes with law enforcement. It's just broader than one silo. It's everyone, and you know that sometimes you need to have it, that information given to you multiple times so that
Mm.
you can process and remember, and maybe many times in different ways. So oftentimes schools will have a presenter in to talk about mental health or cyberbullying or something. There needs to be follow up. There needs to be that, maybe not daily, but that weekly review of something so that it processes and stays in the brain.
Mm. Are we meaner now because of social media? You know what I mean? Like, are we
Yeah, I know.
meaner? It's I feel sometimes when I mean, I'm an adult and, my feelings, get hurt. I know what social media can do to my mental health, and, when I think about children and they're, they on an iPad or a phone or whatever it might be, it's how do if my feelings get hurt as an adult, how do I
Mhm.
protect my own children from it's just it seems like such a daunting, scary thing to navigate with kids.
You have a lot of questions
I
in
really
that
do.
comment.
I just
um,
I know you have I know you can talk about all of these things better than anyone.
so the first question, are we meaner? I think that access to technology and social media has given the accessibility of the access to be braver behind a keyboard and say things that are more hurtful. Because, I mean, we've been dealing with bullying prior to technology, right? Um, but that access just makes it easier. Um, how do we protect our children better? We are never going to get away. I mean, we can teach kids and we can teach adults about kindness, right? And a percentage of those individuals will absorb it and be kinder. But there are some that just don't get it, whether it comes naturally, whether they're um, environmental um, or growing up situations have created something negative in their life that they need to um, espouse and share hate in order to build themselves up. So, how do we combat them? We also have to work on working with our children and our adults to build resilience. And we hear that word and people just roll their eyes and goes, yeah, how are we going to do that? Right. And kindness and compassion and empathy are part of that building up of resilience. And so I had a conversation a few weeks ago with, it was either a parent, well, I have multiple conversations, right? Parent or an individual, and someone sent them something and it's absorbing them and they feel terrible and they want to self-harm and depression. And what we have to keep saying is whatever anyone sends you, it's not your fault. It's not you. Don't let them make it about you. It's the other person that is having those issues, those things about themselves that they can't handle, that might need support, but they're not going, and they don't realize that they need the support. And so building that resilience and that outer shell and that toughness, I know it's hard, but
Mm.
we can't have to start, and we can't stop, because as soon as you can say to someone, if you see it, if it's a child, if you see something that's making you uncomfortable, go tell your trusted adult, right? Shut it down. And
Hmm.
then it's like, to adults and young people, walk away. The hard part is in the brain. When we hear something that says, you're ugly, you're overweight, and I hate you, if we hear it, it's easier to walk away than if you visually see it, because visual imprints stay in your brain. And so, what happens if you get a horrible comment on Facebook or Instagram? You see it, it absorbs you. You think, I wonder if I really did that, right? And then you go back and read it again, and then you start scrolling through other people's comments. But those visual imprints stay in your head, just like when you have a birthday party and you get this fantastic balloon, you'll remember that balloon for the rest of your life. And so, um, we have to sort of find ways so that our kids aren't visually imprinting the hateful things that they see. Just like you have to stop watching the news if it's affecting you in a negative
Mm.
way, because you're seeing it, right? If you hear it on the radio, it comes and goes, and but if you actually see, so I
Yeah.
think that's a real important, and it all goes back into the brain, and how we want to wire it, and how we want to
Mm.
wire our children and our young people and our adults in the world, right?
Yeah, that totally makes sense, seeing it. And you're right. Even seeing it in the documentary, the texts and that pop up, it's jarring and hurtful, more so than if you just hear it. You're absolutely right
Mhm.
about that. I never thought about it that way before. And resilience is built, right, Carol? Like, it's like we
Yes.
build our resilience through life, through rotten things happening and us getting back up and being stronger. And we're not
Yeah.
born resilient.
No, and you know what? Just on the weekend, I was with a friend, and I was holding her 3-week-old baby, and watching baby's eyes and body, like the smiles and stuff. And I wondered, because I mean, my kids, my son's 27, and Amanda would be turning 24, right? And I often think, when babies are born, they're born with a blank slate. Do they dream? We don't know. They don't have a whole lot of life experience. They are just innocent beings. And as they grow up, they see things in our world, they see things in our home, and their behaviors are affected by what they see and what they do. And
Mm.
also by other people's responses to them, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why, when we talk about cyberbullying, we think about kids, but it's the whole universe. It's all humans in the world, and all humans have to deal with how we respond and how we interact, and making choices of who we interact with, who our friends are, because there's a big difference between friends and people you know. Not everyone in the world is your friend,
Yes.
even though you talk to them 20 times on Messenger. They are people you know. And it becomes that trusting issue. And you talk about cyberbullying, and you get into this whole um, conversation about um, predators and online safety and exploitation and sextortion and all that stuff. And that's all about sometimes trusting the person at the other end. We're a very trusting world out there, but we have to make sure that we have the safeguards in place to ask those questions about, should I be trusting this person? Like, if they're asking me to do this, should I really be doing that, or should I tell my mom and dad? All those things, right?
Mm. So the Amanda Todd Legacy Society, what is the purpose of this society?
When Amanda died on October 10th of 2012. never thought I'd go further than just to grieve my daughter, right? Never had any intention to carry on and create a legacy, um, or a nonprofit to remember her by. But it happened, and it happened because, I mean, Amanda created that YouTube video, and it's watched and still watched, right? Um, and then back then, there were no real GoFundMe's. And so it all started with people internationally who wanted to donate something, right? And then it led me to go with the Vancouver Foundation, and then it started to build up. And then someone asked me to speak at um, a conference or a networking session, and then another one, and then another one, and then it just grew. Of all the speaking presentations that I have done in the last 8 years, I have never solicited any. They have all come to me. And um, I will not solicit myself now for maybe when I retire. But it's it's like it was meant to be. And the purpose of the legacy, um, is to create awareness, to share Amanda's story, to provide resources to help others, right? And on our website and on all our little branding logos, it's the dream of helping kids. And that didn't come from me. That came from Amanda. Because if you go into stuff that she had created, her video, her some of her social media, which was very small back then, right? Compared to now. She always wanted to help others, but others never saw that in her. The individuals that um, bullied, cyberbullied, were hateful to her, that told her that she wasn't worth living. Um, they never knew the real Amanda. They only saw the external Amanda, right? And Amanda was feisty. I will agree that she was like, you don't mess with her. I always thought while she was growing up that she was going to be the head of her own company because she was feisty. She was determined. She knew what she wanted. And that's the stuff that got her in mix ups with other people because she spoke her mind, but she wasn't able to continue that how do you say it? She wasn't able to respond to all the conflicts in a positive way. And it's the gang mentality, right? So the bullies were a big group of kids, and she couldn't deal with that. She didn't have the resources to handle that. Do I wish? And I say this out loud too. There's lots of, as parents, we protect our kids, and we protect them whether they're breathing or not breathing. And I will always be there to protect both my kids. And I say that in the present tense. Um, but as a mama bear, you know what? We will go out there. We will do anything we can. So I I know that in my heart that Amanda wanted a better world. And so in creating this legacy, I can help create that better world for, I can't create it for her anymore, but I can create it for everyone else. And eventually, if and when my son ever has children, it will, the better world will be there for him. And I certainly do believe that in the last 8 years since Amanda died, um, the world has become a better place. Even though we see everything around us crashing down, there are parts and pieces that have become a better place, right?
Yes, I agree with you. I definitely do. And it's through your just your openness, right? Because it's not easy for you to continuously tell your story as a mother and Amanda's story. And I agree, there has been definite big steps forward. and through conversations, we can create more change and a positive change. And I do want to say that TELUS is always trying to give back, and they wanted me to let you know that they are happy to give $500 to the Amanda Todd Society, a Legacy Society. It's just a little token of just appreciation and support that, we can put $500 in your account, and hopefully others will do the same, and it will continue to build, and you can continue to create this positive change in the world. So as we keep going forward, Carol, what can parents do? What do you want to say to parents of kids, whether they be younger kids or teenagers, about about social media and cyberbullying and mental health, and especially about putting something out there online and
Mhm.
understanding that it's forever?
What's funny is that every time you speak, all
I know.
these thoughts come into my head. First,
Sorry.
thank you to TELUS for that generous. Oh, it gives me goosebumps, right? That TELUS and so many others are so supportive of the legacy and will not let it fade away, even during these times, these COVID times. Um, and TELUS has been a strong supporter of Amanda's legacy for years. Um, what I would like parents to do is to become more educated, more informed about mental health, about cyberbullying, about bullying. They can do that at the TELUS Wise um, website. There's resources, there's presentations. More of the presentations are virtual right now, but there's just so much there that they can learn from. And it's about learning. And some conversations I've had with adults would be, I don't have time to learn. But these are our children, and it's a parental responsibility or an educator responsibility to keep learning. This one's too important to ignore because technology is advancing. If you have an iPhone and you've updated to the new iOS, it's got more bells and whistles, and kids grasp, they go to those bells and whistles and they know how to hide, but it's up to us to understand what they have in their hand and what they're doing with it, right? I see more 7 and 8 year olds now with hand me down phones from their parents because you get to trade in your phone. And these parents, I want them to know that you're handing a full blown computer to your child. And the response might be, well, it's not on data, so it doesn't really matter.
Mm.
Well, Wi-Fi makes it a computer. You don't really need the data. You don't need the phone capability because you can do all that with free apps that you get. And kids will know because they talk to each other about what to download, where to get it, what to do, and how to circumvent. Because as adults, if you remember what you did as 15 when you were 15 years old and never told your parents, this is just a different generation
Mm.
of what kids are doing right now, but they're doing what we did just in a different way. And so it's our responsibility to try and be one step ahead of them. And it's going to be hard, um, but learn before you get into those conflicts with your child. So it's setting up those parameters. We have moral responsibilities to keep parenting, and parenting has morphed, it has changed. There are different ways that we have to parent these days, so we cannot ignore it.
I agree. And I agree. We have to wrap up, Carol. And again, you have so much information and so much insight. And you're right. It really comes down to communication, being one step ahead, not being really, it's easy to be lazy about social media and about, technology. And you're right. I just loaded in the new iOS and I have no idea how to use it. And I don't really care. But my 10-year-old sure knows how to change all my so it's very interesting. That really struck a chord when you said that. It's true. They are very savvy when it comes to this
Mhm.
stuff.
They've grown up
Uh,
with it.
They've
right?
grown up with it and they don't know any different. So, and there's lots of information for us parents, isn't there, Carol? There's
Oh, there's tons of information.
go
It's weeding
to
it out. It's
exactly.
weeding it out, and what you do is you choose a couple of websites as your go-tos, right? So TellusWise, MediaSmart, Common Sense Media, and there's resources for parents and educators and kids on all three. And so use those, because if you go everywhere, that's when you're going to get overwhelmed and give up,
Good
right?
point. Yes.
I have a favor to ask you.
Yes.
So on October 10th is World Mental Health Day, right? And that's the same day Amanda died. And so in the last 8 years, we created a campaign for awareness, and it's called Light Up Purple. And we have a website, lightupPurple.org, and we have asked buildings, bridges, people, schools around the world to light up purple. I mean, we don't get them all. We only get like a piece of everyone. But this year we have got places like Vancouver, all of Canada, the big buildings, and we've got places in the U.S. We've got places in the U.K. and around the world. So the message is to bring about mental health awareness more and to decrease the stigma. Wear purple or do something purple on October the 10th. And this is in memory of Amanda too, right? She never knew it was World Mental Health Day. It was just ironic that those two dates coincided. And so this is another way for me to know that I'm doing something positive. There's going to be, I think that, the big Pattison digital signboards.
Yeah.
Well, Pattison has donated their signboards to run the ad for the last 7 years. And
And so
so
what do you want us to do? You want us to wear purple on the 10th? You
wear
want us
purple,
to
talk about mental health.
talk
Don't be
about it?
afraid. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to talk about it, and share stories and get other people to talk about it, because that's the
Right.
only way we're going to decrease the stigma and to make people comfortable. And in 8 years, 8 years ago, we didn't talk about mental health. We were afraid to, but we're talking about it a lot more now. And I applaud TELUS for taking that step to talking about it more and having those conversations like you and I are
Mhm.
having right now. And so we need to have many more of them.
And it's a good reminder too, Carol, that we can have these conversations at home with our kids, you know?
Mhm.
These are conversations that can start early at home. Because when we communicate and we tell stories, my daughters don't know who Amanda is. They're still young, but I think they're old enough to know now. I think it's one of my daughters just turned 12. The other one's 10. I think that they're old enough now and they know about social media. And this is again how Amanda gets to change lives, is
Yes,
that we can tell her story to the next generation so that they can be stronger and they can against cyberbullying, and they know what it is. I mean, this was such a shock because really so many of us didn't know what it was or what to do, and many of us still don't. And so this conversation, Carol, really helps us all understand how we go moving forward and bring this next generation up to not tolerate any of this. And I think
I
as
agree.
adults, we need to remember this too, because there's a lot of adults on social media that,
Do the same thing.
oh yeah, and that's where kids learn from, right? We watch
Yeah.
we watch these adults around us, and we listen to them, and we hear the stories, and then we think that's the way we need to act.
If
So
it's okay for mom and dad, it must be okay for me. Mom and dad carry their phone around and don't put it down. So I can do that too.
oh my gosh,
And then, or else an argument ensues, right? So,
yeah,
yeah,
there you
and
go.
modeling. It's about
That
modeling.
It is about modeling. And you just said a sentence that I think 99% of people can relate to. I walk around with my phone in my hand. I
No.
walk around with my phone in my hand, right? Yeah,
Yep.
no kidding.
Yep.
Thank you again, Carol, for the conversation. I just want to remind everyone that you can go to the Amanda Todd Legacy by visiting the website, and it's amandatoddlegacy.org.
Yes.
And Dark Cloud premieres
Yes.
on October 10th, which is World Mental Health Day. It is also the day that Amanda Todd died, and it will be available on Optic on demand. It is powerful, meaningful, and again, you have given us a gift, Carol, of sharing your story and helping us all learn and showing us the way, really, to a better, safer life.
I
So
can
thank
only
you.
hope. And thank you for being a wonderful host.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to another episode of TELUS Talks with Tamara Taggart. Be sure to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for another conversation. You can also check out our website, telus.com/podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at TELUS Talks.